Hello everyone, happy Saturday. How are you doing today? This fine, beautiful Saturday. Um, Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty getting it to actually go live for me. So I am so glad to be here though. Glad I got it on. How are you? Who is excited about this project? I am. We've been, I've been doing some inventory, trying to get our Etsy up again. Hello, Eugenia and Gail and Diane. Hello. And trying to get all these beautiful things that we have up there. So we made some bead collections. You're going to see a lot of bead collections and mystery bags going up so that you can get some really good deals and get some pretty beads that we have. And I mean, I'm excited. So this little collection that I just did this week, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I've been like I said on the other last week, I've been going through the videos and trying to make them easier to view and be able to transfer them over to our YouTube and stuff like that. And so what I have found, some of these we don't have the beads again to do kits, but then when I made this collection, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect for doing the wire crochet, Hello, Catherine and Sharon and Rosalinda and Stephanie. Oh, it's so great to see you all on here. And Zendra Jacobson and Barb. Oh, wonderful. Good to see you. Hello. Yes, we have a lot of fun. And Landa, welcome. And we have a lot of fun putting our mystery bags and our collections together. It's really fun putting pretty beads. So I have, if you didn't catch earlier, I am going to be, so I know a couple people are probably pulling out their actual flower bouquet crochet kits that they might not have finished up, but we did this last year, and I have this up in our let's see if I can get the link to our group. You can find the PDF file in our Just Beaded Happy Beaders group. And we also have, send, woo, I think I did it. And we also have if you saw the post I did earlier, I have it in JPEG form so that you were able to see it. So it's in our event page and on our Facebook page and our Just Beaded Happy Beaders group. Yay! I'm so glad to have you join me today. It's so wonderful to see. Yes, Sharon, we do have one, but we've kind of ignored it. We don't really have much on, but I'm starting to move things over. I'm prepping all the videos to move them from our lives over, and my plan is to soon do this both here and on YouTube, because we do have a lot of our customers that miss doing these things with us, and they don't do Facebook. And even though you can watch this without having Facebook, a lot of people just don't go check. So we're like, we got to move it. I'm like, we should move it over there, right? So yeah, we do have a YouTube, which I should send out a thing about that. Well, I'm so glad you found the kits, Cheryl, and you can stay as much as you can, and we'll make sure. I know I saw you get some of these collections, so since you can't find it, I'll make sure to stick one of these paper copies in there for you, Cheryl, with that. Sharon, yes, our Etsy shop is technically open. It just doesn't, it probably has only like 50 items so far, because I'm inventorying them as I put them up, and we're adding like some collections and things like that. So that is one of the few things that I did not I did not copy and paste my link for my YouTube. So that was I should have done that. I thought of it for a moment, but anyway, I forgot to do that. So I will after the live, because I don't know how to do it while I'm doing the live. So after the live, I will do a post with it, just so that, you know, and I'll make sure you can see that link. Well, welcome, Roberta Lee. I'm glad to have you join us today. It is wonderful. I love that I'm seeing some of our, you know, both new and old customers from all over, and it just always excites me. So anyway, so let's see what we have today for our, so I am going to be substituting so many of these beads because again, I'm not using this kit. I'm using one of our Mindful Czech glass collection that we have on our Etsy right now. We have 3 colorways. I am going to flip this. As I learn more of this kind of stuff, I will be getting better and better at remembering what links I need to make sure I have to cut and paste. Let's see if I can get this to go. Oh, that's the ceiling. You don't need to see the ceiling. You want to see my mat. That is not that great right this second, but we're going to change that really soon with some awesome bees, right? Okay, so I have, let's move this out of the way and get this up on our mat. Go a little closer. So I'm using our Mindful Czech glass collection. I say mindful because I kind of been in this like, you know, looking at color and texture and just like really enjoying the beads and you know, appreciating all the neat shapes and colors. So we did a couple different color collections. They all have the same type of beads in them, but they just have, you know, their own colorway. So this is what we are naming Strength. It's in reds and purples and pinks and a little gold and silver for Strength. We have our Nope, this is Celestial. Sorry, I'm working with Tranquility today. And then we have purple, mostly purples with a little blue and a little accent golds in there and copper, but mostly in the purple family. And then the one I'm working today is Tranquility. So I have to decide what I'm going to use for these substitutes from this gorgeous mix. But before I get to that, let's talk about what the clasp or what materials you need. Now, I'm going to be using 26 gauge craft wire. I'm using soft flex today in the antique copper because I love antique copper. You can use any, but I find 26 is a great one for wire crochet. You could also go 28, a little thinner, if you want something that has a little bit more stability, like they'll turn into more of a bangle, working with 24, but I feel like 26 is a really good. Oh, I'm sorry, Gail. Yeah, so the link, if you go into the Happy Beaders link, then when you go, I forgot to mention that you need to go, you know, you'll see like photos, albums, and files. There's like a little tab that says files. And in that tab, you would find the flower. You can then find the flower bouquet crochet. So that's what the name is. So sorry about that. I should have explained that better. Oh, thank you, Rosalinda, for finding our YouTube and linking that in there. I appreciate that. Oh, look at all these other people that I miss, like Karen and Elaine and Joanne. Hello, hello. And Irma Linda, hello. I do love this. So that's and Rosalinda, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. That was great. I love that we are such a wonderful bead community. I think that's what keeps me going. We all help each other in so many ways, and I much appreciate that. So yes, if you go in, so in the group itself, you will find little tabs that go, you know, like different things, announcements, things like that. And there's one that says files, and that will be in there. So back to the other supplies besides the beads that I'm going to go over in a minute. I am going to do the 26 gauge anti-copper craft wire. I am going to be using a 5mm crochet hook. I kind of like a 5mm for these the wire crochet. You could go a little bit bigger, and some people go a little bit smaller, but I just find that this one works really well for me. We have a 3-pack that have the 5mm. I don't remember what the other sizes are in there. It has 2 other sizes that are bigger. So this is the smallest one in our 3-pack that we carry on our Etsy. And we also have our craft wire there, which I will add. And that is our link to our Etsy page, where you will find, you will also not only find our thank you, Sandra. That's very helpful. You can also find the collections that I'm talking about and the 26 gauge wire, plus the other items that I'm going to be showing. I'm going to use 2 6mm end caps for the ends of my bracelet. Ooh. I love when I clean out things. I did have a sample sitting there for so long, and then I don't even have it right now. But that's okay. We're going to make one at the end, and you'll see what it looks like. So these are on there in sets of 4. You're going to need 2. And I'm debating between a snap clasp, but you're going to need some clasp. In our actual directions, we are using a swivel lobster, which we no longer have. A regular lobster would work, and then an extension chain. But this time for this project, I am deciding to either use a snap clasp or a magnetic clasp. I am going to make that decision at the very end. So so you want some kind of clasp. You can use a toggle. You can do the lobster. You can do the lobster with the extension, however you like it. And then 2 oval jump rings to attach them. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, Roberta, you do have to request to, you're correct. If that's why I added the link. You do want to request to join, and then we will get you in, and then we will be able to, then you'll be able to see it. In fact, I might go run and grab my iPad to see if I can do the that at the same time. So if you've noticed, I am by myself today with this, and that is a-okay because I have you. So it means that I am still kind of learning from all of this. Oh, I love that you're using your crochet hook from your mom. I was just given, my great aunt just gave me some crochet hooks that were my great grandma's, and I'm kind of excited to use them. But she did such small things. It's like really tiny compared to this. So I can't use that one for this. But yes, you could totally use this, Sharon, as a focal piece for a necklace. You can even add more beads and make the whole thing a necklace. But once you put the ends on, and then you can always just bead up or put a chain or a cord, it would be really lovely. So I'm going to go run because I grab my iPad real quick to see if I can get people into the group. I'll be right back. All right, that was quick. So let's see if we can get you in there so you can grab that PDF. Okay, so I can't do it from here. So I'm going to have to do it after the live, but that was worth a check just in case. And I'll make sure after the live that I click you, Roberta, and make sure you're able to get on there. Okay, so I'm going to take my lovely beads out. Now that we have these. Oh, and besides that, you do want to have a pair of wire cutters to use later, and a pair of chain nose pliers, and a pair of round nose pliers. Where did my round nose? And a pair of round nose pliers. So those are the other tools that you will need to finish. Oh, make that 2 chain nose pliers. I have 2 of them here because I got my jump rings, right? So I'm going to use 2. Yes. Well, you're going to find that this is really fun because it is super simple, right? It's just going to be a basic chain stitch. So if you're familiar with crocheting, that's all we're doing is we're adding a bead to a chain stitch. Welcome, Shira. So glad to have you join us. So I have 2 drops or 3 drops in this bead collection. A smaller one and 2 that are larger. One that has an etched finish to it and one that doesn't. I have a table cut glass, and the camera's barely showing that it's blue, but it's a lot bluer. It's that nice cobalt blue, so it is pretty dark. Oh, sometimes, you know, it does freeze, and you may have to, if you're having problems freezing, it might be that you need to like back out and close your app and then go back in. We have these faceted rice, and these are all Czech glass, by the way, that I have. And then faceted rondelles. Oh, that's exciting, Gil. I'm glad you're able to, that you have a kit to do. And then I have a larger faceted rice. I have these swirly Cinibuns. these little flowers. These smooth rondelles. These 3mm melons. And these faceted teardrops, these small faceted teardrops. So with these, I'm going to try to assign my different things. So these 3 check Dela beads and these 4 button flowers, which you can kind of see here. This is the Dela here, and this is the button. I'm actually going to use the same bead for that, and I'm going to use because I have plenty on here. I mean, these strands have so many beads. I'm going to be able to do more than just this one project. And so I'm going to use this for both of that. So that's going to be, I'm going to put my table cut for those. And I'm going to just write that in so I don't forget. My Cinebuns, I actually have Cinebuns. So I am going to use my Cinebuns where the Cinebuns are. The glass wings, we have, oh, I don't know if you can, the wings are right here. You can kind of see it better right here, these little shapy things. And because they kind of, this gives it texture in this, I'm going to use one of my drops. So let's see, what drop do I want to do with it? Do I want to do that one or that one? Okay, it's going to be one of these 2 drops. I'm going to like hold off to decide which one it is. Oh, that would be great. This technique would be totally great for branchy looking, viney looking, seaweed looking jewelry. Absolutely. Love that idea. The next thing I have is 6mm fire polish. I don't have fire polish, but I kind of want to add these flowers in. So I'm going to use these flowers in place of the fire polish. I know it's a total different bead. I mean, I could use the rice, or I could use the teardrop, and that would be good. But I kind of want to get the flower back in here somehow. And I really like the way, and I think this is going to be, maybe I want to go that way. Well, that might be my wings. Okay, so one of these drops is going to be my wings. I don't know which one. We're going to figure that out in a little bit. And then I have, so that's, so we're going to write down flower here so that I have that. I have 4mm fire polish and 4mm crystals. And I think I'm going to do this for my crystal. And I think I want to pop. Okay, so one of these 3 is, so I'm going to end up ruling these out. This is too many because I only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, technically 7, but I only need 6 types of beads since I'm doubling up this one. So I'm going to take out these 2. I'm going to save that for another project. And now it's a matter of deciding. So I'm going to definitely put this. This is my 3mm. That's going to go where my 3mm bicones. I'm going to put, the 4mm bicones. I'm going to use my 3mm melons. And now it's a matter, what do I, okay. So I like that if I use this one. And I think there it is. This is going to be where I put my fire polish. And then I'll have these left over too, so those are going to go into my other pile that I'm not using. Awesome. Perfect. Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. So we're going to go, the wings are going to be drops, and the faceted teardrops are going to be where my fire polish is. And now I'm doing this in, you could write this on a other piece of paper if you are substituting. And that's just, and really, you don't even have to like use this and substitute. You can free form this like crazy, but I'm going to try this out because it kind of gives the spacing that I kind of want. So, I'm going to see how well that works today, and I think it's going to work out fine. And I'm just, even though it's colored purple, it is just a pencil, so if I needed to erase it, I can for the next project. I know the Smooth Rondelle, this color is just, this capri blue is so pretty on that Smooth Rondelle. Really do. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta like go out and then come back in home. All right, so I'm gonna snip those off. Now, depending on if you're using a kit of ours from this, okay, I didn't need to open up the whole thing. I just needed to pull off some beads, but let's just, you know, I love working off of a messy, a semi-messy, semi-organized tray here. So let's just go for it, right? And just have my big old piles. I do have the instructions so that you're cutting off of the wire, and then for each part you can either continue to, you could do that, or you can work off of the spool if you have a spool. Like our kits came with extra wire just in case, but a limited number. It wasn't a full spool. So that's why I do have a mount, and having that number does also help if you are running low on a color, but you want to use it to see if you have enough. Having that length listed also helps with that, especially, you know, when you're like down to the last little bit on your spool. It's like good to know if you have it. So the first one I am going to cut off of the spool. So I'm cutting 3 feet of the 26 gauge wire. And you could use a ruler, or you can haphazard do it like I do. I kind of use my mat as a guide. It's a little over a foot, but that's good enough. These beads are going to look so pretty together. I am so excited. On one end, I am just going to, you could just curl it down with your fingers, but I'm just going to use my pliers to just kind of just make a little end. And that's just so that the beads that I add on don't slide off. Then I got these figured out of what I want. I'm going to lay out my beads. The first bead that I'm doing is my fire polish, which is my, let's move this way, my fire polish. And then I'm going to do 3 of what, so that's I'm using the teardrop, the teardrop, and then I'm using the drop beads as my wings to give that texture. And then I'm going to use a Cinibun, another 4mm fire polish, which is my teardrop, 3 of the the 6mm fire polish, which I am substituting with these flowers. That's going to be so pretty with the flowers. 2 of my bicones, which I'm substituting with these. And I'm not worried that these are smaller. These are 3mm, if you remember that in my collection. Since these are slightly bigger than the 6mm fire polish, I'm not worried that these are slightly smaller. It kind of evens out a little bit. And then my table cut for my button, the button flower. And then 2 more bicones with, and again, I'm substituting all mine, but I'm just reading it off of how it's read on the instructions, so that if you're looking at that. And then what I'm substituting for my fire polish, another table cut for the day. See, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, because we have what we call the Crochet curse. I got it from my dad. We say words wrong all the time. We try to say it right. So the flower, the pretty flower that was, or supposed to be a flower, I'm using my table cut, and then my 6mm fire polish, which I'm using my flower, and then 1 more button comb. So that is what I'm going to string on to my 26 gauge wire. And remember, I have that one side I did put a little loop so that they won't fall off. And again, you don't have to follow this pattern per se. I'm just showing how you can if you're unsure. Because some of us have it really, can kind of like design on the, and just kind of go with, add them on randomly, or come up with their own design that they want in the crochet. And sometimes you want it more structured. I'm kind of going with that whole boutique look, the bouquet look, where it is kind of like gathered and kind of bunchy and almost looks random but not random. So that's why I'm kind of following it, so that it kind of has the same amount of space. And so you could just kind of figure out your own. The crochet part will add length. You typically want about, it's about 4 to 5 inches. But if you have a smaller wrist, go with the 4. If you have a larger wrist, go with the 5 maybe. You can always add or subtract if you need to. But I have all of those beads strung, and I'm going to let it slide down to the end. And I'm going to move my beads up more. Now we get to do the crochet part. Move those out of the way. Got all those beads all lined up. I like how that's gonna look. One thing that I've done sometimes with doing it, I might load up this one, and then I cut the other piece and I load up the second one, because we're gonna make 3 of these and then braid them together. So sometimes I will load it up without doing the crocheting, just to see if that's the placement that I want. So that's another thing. So like I'll get that, and then I'll load up another section and you want to get them about the same length, as close as you can, and then do a third one, and then you have them all lined up, and you kind of go, oh, that's how it's going to intermingle with each other. That way you're not like on the second strand you're putting these 2 again here or here. You can put them over here or in the middle or something. And so you can kind of play around with it. Now, this is the side without the twist and without the beads. We are going to go about, I don't know, about 4 or 5 inches down from the end. And we're going to make a slip knot for our crochet hook to go in. And you are going to, and to do that, you just take, you know, I'm aiming it for this about here. So a little bit away from that on both sides to make a loop. I'm just kind of bringing it around, right? And then I'm taking my tail to the back, and it's like I'm going to do an overhand knot, right? And I would normally just pull that right through, but instead of pulling it through, I'm going to put my crochet hook there. Now I want to talk a little bit about how to hold your crochet hook. Some people like to hold it like this is how you want to use this little flat part for your thumb and pinch it, and you're going to use it kind of like a knife, or you use it like a pencil. There is not a wrong or right way. It's what's most comfortable to you. You're going to see me do it this way. I don't know why, but that's the way I learned when I was little, and that's what's most comfortable for me. I will sometimes do this, but I have to like retrain my hand, and it's kind of hard to retrain your hand. So go in this direction. So I have my, remember this wire's going behind, so I'm going to go and kind of scoop up the tail that's behind the loop, and it's going to be under that tail but above the circle. And then if you grab the tail and the working together, it gets it nice and tight up against there, and you have a little slip knot starter. I'm going to show that one more time because I know that there's people that are new to this, and that can look very puzzling. If you know how to do it, awesome. Of course, when I did that, I didn't pull it out well enough, but yeah, we're gonna pretend that didn't happen. Okay, so again, I take it about, and I'm gonna try to aim about 4 to 6 inches from the end. Make a loop where that crosses over. I'm crossing my tail end over the working end, and then I take my tail end to the back. I kind of push it up with my finger to make it easier to take my crochet hook under that tail. So it's under the tail but over the loop. Grab hold of the working tail, or the working tail and the regular tail. Pull. When I pull both of them, it makes a big large loop here. So then I take, and my tail I pull so that it gets nice and close. Oh, I'm so sorry, Karen, that you're gotta, I understand. Some days, you know, the signals are not as good as other days, and technology is, you know, what it is. This will be available to watch anytime. You know, my mom is left-handed too, and she had a tough time learning. But she found she was able to mirror it a little bit, so that kind of helped. But yeah, understand. Me learning from a left-handed was interesting too. So there are a few things in my life that I actually do more comfortably with my left hand than my right, just because my mom was left-handed, but I am pretty dominantly right. Okay, so we are going to do a 1 chain stitch. So if you've done a chain stitch before, you're going to just do one without any beads. If you've never done it before, what that is, so I'm going to hold it in this direction. You're going to take the wire behind. Now, I like to have my hook kind of semi in the downward position. So it's kind of like off center. It's not quite down and it's not quite up. It's kind of in between. It's like, and then I'm going to take the working wire and go from behind and over the crochet hook. Then I'm going to pull my crochet hook and see how I caught this loop of wire that I just added with the hook, and I'm going to bring it through the loop. So I'm going to pull that out real quick just so you could see. So starting with that again, it's going up, over, and pull it through. Now, if the two of you that are left-handed, that voice that are want to see it left-handed, let me know. I may be able to show it, but it sounds like you've done some crochet, so I don't think you'll see. The problem is I did it too tight, so now I can't get it through. So let's try that again. If your loop is too tight, one thing that I like to do is push it all the way over the thumb bump, because that makes it a little bit bigger. So then when I go to bring the working over and then hook it with my hook and then pull it through, it will be a little nicer there. Y'all had to learn together, huh? You got two lefties and two righties, and you kind of had to learn each other's ways. That is great. Now it's time to add a bead. So we are going to, for the most part, do one bead at a time in this. No, I think all of them is one bead at a time. Sometimes I'll do the smaller beads. I'll do multiple, like I'll do 2 or 3. But I am going to just be doing one at each one. So I'm letting the first bead slide down to the loop. Get that a little tighter. Take our cord and, well, the wire, and go behind and over. So it's still a chain stitch, but now we have this little loop bead hanging underneath. And you want that bead to be hanging under the hook. And then you're going to pull it through. And anyone that is just learning this, you get to rewatch this live video at any point. So if you get stuck, you can rewatch how to start it again. I'm also going to make several of these. I'm going to make 3 of these. So, oh yes, we're using 26 gauge wire. Thank you for sharing that. And then my next bead, I bring it down. I like 26 for bracelets because it gives it a little bit of a bounce and it's easy to work with. If I want it to be stiffer, kind of closer to a bangle, I might do 24 gauge. What's nice about the 26, you do get like a bigger variety of beads that will fit it. For necklaces, I tend to do 26 as the thickest, because anything the 24 doesn't drape as well. But I will sometimes go down to a 28 just to give it a little bit more drape. It kind of depends on what size beads I'm using too, because the bigger beads, is kind of almost sometimes better on the 26 because it has more stability with it. Okay, so I brought down the bead, coming down to it, to the loop, around the hook, through. What's nice about the wire crochet is that the wire you can kind of shape it a little bit. Bridget, that's a great question. I do tend to use this one most of the time. And the reason I do that is because, I mean, if you were doing if you're a crocheter, usually you'd go with thinner when the piece is a smaller hook when the material that you're using is smaller. But we want this, want to be able to make loops that are going to go behind the size beads that we're using. So if I was only doing this small 3mm, I actually might go down a size just because see how loopy that is with just that one, or I would put like 2 of this. Today I'm just leaving it because I love it. I think it's going to make it go well with this. But again, you can adjust them a little bit, but I find that the 5mm works really well. Yeah. And it just tends to be the one that I pick out the most. Now, I did a piece one time that were the smallest size that I used was like these table cuts here, and most of them were bigger than that. And with that, I actually did go up to an 8mm just so that I made sure it was easier for me to pull that loop to be bigger. Because this size, I'm able to kind of handle most of these beads easily. And again, if I did something with just 3mm or just 4mm, and I don't want to double them on, if I didn't want to put 2 in this space, if I only wanted the one, if it was only that bead, I would probably go down to a 3.5 or a 4mm crochet hook. Just to try to keep that loop from being so big. So it's not necessarily the wire, it's more the beads that you're using. And since I do a lot of things like this where I'm using multiple size beads, I just find that the 5 is what I grab the majority of the time. All right, next bead comes down. Now this one is a little bit taller, so when I want to make sure that I don't get it too tight on here, so I kind of pull up my loop and make sure that the loop, do you see how the loop now is, well, it's a little bit bigger, but it's closer to the length of this because I made it a little looser than the others. So you kind of want to make it a little bit, you want it the height of your bead. Then wrap over, pull that, use that hook to pull it through. And if you notice, I'm kind of going down, then I twist it. Once you do, now since these are flatter beads, I want to make sure that the flat is up and the 2 wires, see in the back how there's 2 wires from the loop, and then the front has just the bead showing. So I kind of, as I go, kind of pinch those wires together a little bit to make sure that the bead does not slip into that. Yes, at least in my experience. Now, other people might have a different experience and feel that it's the other way around. But in my experience, that's what I find works best for me, is to kind of go by the bead size that you're using. In wire crochet, just because of the way wire is, it's stiffer. It has its own, it doesn't flow like other material, like yarn or nylon cords or polyester cords or things like that you might crochet with fiber. Thank you, Paulina. It's good. I know it's great to be back. and it's been a little while. So I brought this bead down, wrap over, pull through. I'm really loving these questions. I do appreciate it, because sometimes I do things without realizing that I'm not explaining it, and I really, the key is that we understand, right? That's how we learn. So because this is a smaller one, if you notice, I pulled a little tighter so that it's a little tighter around my hook, right? Because I don't want this bead to flip around, so I'm going to go around with it into the loop that I'm making. Does make it a little bit trickier to get that through, but it does get through. And I'm pinching, so I've pinched all those loops behind there so that it's behind and the bead doesn't fall through. And I'm just going to continue on with this, bringing one bead down, bringing the wire over, take my hook, kind of catch it. I like to put the hook part down while I go through, and then when I come out of the loop, I twist it back up, and then I push it back onto the base of the hook. I try not to be over here. I used to do it all the time over here because that, I don't know, it's just, that's the way my brain, and I couldn't figure out why it was getting hard to do. And it's because with that tapered there, even though I feel like I wanted to be close to the hook, having it tapered there, my loops were getting small. So that's, yes, you're actually crocheting. It is called a chain stitch. It is a basic crochet. It is, what's nice is that it really isn't, you don't even have to, for this stitch, you don't have to know how to crochet. So it is a real great place to start. So since I got the large bead again, I'm going to make sure that I'm pulling it a little larger to make sure that it's the height of my bead. Wrap over, grab and pull through. Slide another bead down. Whoops, I got two beads this time. Let's get one bead. Now this one I want to pull a little tighter. Go around. Boop. Through. Looks good. Another one. Around. Pull through. This one's a great size for this hook. Don't have to do much. Adjusting to the loop. Now, if you're a crocheter, you can definitely hold your wire just like you would your cords and go through like you were doing. I just, I know that so many people don't do crochet, and so this allows you to understand the movement and wire just holds on so nice, so that just gives it a good they hold their place a little bit better, so it's a good way to learn it. Yeah, yes, the beads will get heavy on it, but oh my gosh, yes, you can. Absolutely. Oh, I love the idea of a bead of your, beads go. Oh, love it, love it. So yeah, I'm glad you figured it out, but it does make it, you know, it doesn't take that much. I'm using 3 for this bracelet. I'm actually, or, you know, this part of the bracelet, and it's not even like, it's way more than you need. You probably only need 2, but I like to have a little extra just to try it out, so that you know what you need. A lot of times, like I'm going to do my next one, I'm going to actually do it off of the spool, and that will allow you to not have as much waste. But whenever you're unsure, if you add your beads and then cut off a very specific amount, like 3 feet, and then you crochet it, then you can kind of see like, okay, so 3 feet with these beads will make X amount of inches. And then you're able to figure, it's easier to figure out. In this case, because these are the amount of beads that I'm using, and it's, you know, I'm doing a nice kind of loosey wire loops here, because it is going to give it a nice texture to braid with in my bracelet. I'm probably actually only using maybe 2 to 2.5 feet, but that extra is nice to have just in case, just in case. There I go back into my crochet hands. Let's go back to our wire crochet. So, oh, there's my first drop. Okay, so when you have funny ones like this, you want to make sure that the outer part is sticking out and doesn't get caught inside. It happens. Yep, exactly, Deborah. That's exactly what I do most of the time. I only did this because we did the had the cut method, because of the fact that we, in our kits, our original kits, we only had so much wire that we gave, and we gave extra just in case if one of these messed up, you can redo it, because when you're learning something new, sometimes you have to redo, but it yeah, you definitely, working off the spool makes it a lot easier. But if you're down to like, I don't know how much left I have on my spool, do I have enough? You can kind of get an idea by doing a little, you know, maybe with a different color, a little like, okay, these beads, this is what, and you can cut it and figure it out. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love doing lives with we have such a wonderful beading community, and I just am always happy to be here. It makes my week. I get nervous and anxious and all of that, because really this is not my personality to be on a camera or anything, but I just love doing things with everyone in this bead community, that I overcome it, and it still makes it my favorite time of the year, of the week. And my last one, I'm going to pull through. So look at how fun the drops look. They're going to give such neat texture, just all in my, once I braid it up. So I did my last bead. I'm going to do one more without a bead. So like in the beginning, so I just wired it, put the wire over the hook, go through, and then to close it off, I'm going to over and go through a second time. But this time when I pull through, I'm going to pull, oh, maybe, let's see if we could pull it through, Joyce. Pull it through the loop, but I'm going to also pull my end all the way through. So now I got like kind of like a little knotty thing, and I'm going to pull it so it's nice and tight, and that's how I'm going to stop. I'm going to end that one. Oh my gosh, yes. This is such a great, like, you can use this with all your leftover beads, or beads that you get from a collection. You're like, oh, these are wonderful, but I'm not sure what I want to do. Such a fun thing to do in front of the TV, or listening to music or what, you know, audiobooks, of course. All right, so I'm going to make, in my design for the flower bouquet, we actually make two the same exact things, but we're going to end up flipping it so that the drops are on the other side, but we're going to put them on in the same way. So I'm going to use this as a guide, and I'm going to line up my beads. Which is part of the reason why I really like the 26 and the 28 in necklaces, is that for my leftover beads for that bead soup thing, sometimes you have like pearls or some gemstones that have really tiny holes, and so they will go on there. I did this beautiful braided bracelet with really tiny CZs for my sister one time, and it just so fun because the CZs just went. I've done it with Swarovski crystals. Oops, the name that shall not be named. Whoopsie. And so much, and stones. I've done it with you name it. I've used this in some form with oh yes, with size 6C beads is great, and then you can have us, and then you add a center focal on it. Would be a wonderful. Okay, so I'm supposed to be lining these up. I got distracted by comments. Woohoo! Okay, so I'm lining them up to match this one. Again, when I go to braid it, I'm actually going to reverse the position so that I'm not getting the same beads right on next to each other. But I'm going to use this as a guide. Oh, high end. Well, you know what? I think we're not supposed to say Austrian crystal either. I think that's the other funny thing, because they're the only ones that do it there. So I don't know. Whatever. Oh, thank you, Linda. I know it still is heartbreaking sometimes to think of our brick and mortar store and our local peeps, but it has been really good to be able to do this. And I love that I'm adding more people to our bead community by being on here. There's people that I would never have met before. So you could do another piece again where you cut the 3 feet, but if you noticed, so I actually have probably, I don't know, a 1.5 feet left over if you count both sides. You do want to have at least 4 inches. So like if you're doing it from the spool, I'm going to make sure I have at least 4 inches on the end. So I could save a few inches by doing this, which will give me more opportunity to make more things. So I'm going to work off the spool and build it up just like I did. Oh, you know what? I hold it this way. I'm going to go from, doesn't matter what side, really. So we're going to just go for it. We're going to add them on. Oh, I'm sorry, Cindy, that you are having freezing problems. I know that there has been some weird weather that is affecting things all over. That's a good one. I love that. Outside of Vienna, Crystal. Yeah, I haven't heard that you can't say that. Oh, oh. Outside of Vienna. Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm, you know, he who must not be named. Though I was never afraid to say Voldemort, but I am a little afraid to say the other one just because I don't need a cease and desist letter that might turn into something else. Or banned. Okay, got all my beads. These are in the same order as the other that I'm going to then crochet up. And again, I'm doing it right on there. They're just going to slide all around and, you know, it's going to be great. Oh, is there more? Okay. So that makes sense. That's, okay. Okay. Thank you for that clarity. I hadn't heard that part. I kind of like, oh my gosh, there's so much drama about this that I'm just going to sit back and wait until the dust settles to find out what's going on because I can't right now. So that is interesting news. Oh, yes. You do want to kind of like, you may have to, if this is too long, like you know, like technically this would be kind of long, right? I have to add I still have to add my cord ends and my clasp, and it fits right around like that. So if you do find that you're looser or you're tighter, might change the length of this. So you may have to take off a couple of the beads, and you do want to make sure before you go to the next one so that you know where you're going to be. But when you braid it, it kind of uses up a little bit of the length, and you can kind of like, because it's wire, you can kind of form it to be your size. So sometimes that's like what I do. I am using, Terry, welcome. We're using 26 gauge wire. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, you know, let's do some, our seconds over there. I don't know. It's all, I'm like, I'm just going to let it dust settle on that because right now there's too many other things in the world going on for me that I'm like, that's the least. And then I started getting some Preciosa crystal and I'm loving it. So that might be where I go. Because I'm loving it. It adds sparkle. All right. Now I'm going to go from this end. I got to start my loop again. So I'm doing a slip knot. So I'm going to take about 4 inches at a minimum to 6 inches on the end. Loop around to make a loop. My tail is crossing over my working end on the loop and then going behind it. I kind of stick my finger in there to grab it a little bit to make it easier for me to stick my hook inside. And I'm getting just the tail. I'm going under the tail with the loop behind it. When you grab the tail and the working wire together and pull, it will tighten it up. And we got our first ready to go. Yes, it is. And that's nice on my pocketbook, that's for sure. And then I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to go over my hook, grab the wire with my hook, go through. I'm doing one without a bead. And now I'm ready to start just doing them with the beads. So for those that haven't done it yet, it's a simple chain stitch. So if you've done crochet, that's all it is. If you haven't done it, if you've never crocheted, that's okay. Remember, you can change your hands. You could either hold it like a knife, like I am, like this, or you can hold it like a pencil, and that works too. This one I'm going to try doing with a pencil so you can see what that looks like since I've been doing that. Well, no, today it's going to be all this. Sorry, thought I could do it. It's going to take too much brain power, I think. To retrain my I didn't practice first. A lot of times when I want to show it that, I try to practice beforehand so that I can do it, but it's been a while since I've done it. I brought my first bead down, and it's going up against my wired little cluster down here, little loops. Going to then take the wire behind the hook and in front of the hook, and then make sure the hook part of the crochet hook catches that wire. I go downwards to go through that loop and then back up. And then that's the first one on. Go to grab a next one down. Let it slide down to the beads. Over with the wire. Grab hold of that loop. Go through, and just like that. Grab hold, there's a bead over the hook and through. So I'm just gonna keep on getting this one on. I'm only doing one bead at a time. Yes, they had that, and then there's somebody else that's coming up with a funny name too for theirs. It's all so, I'm just glad I'm not in, like, I feel bad for all of those distributors that no longer could be distributors, and then now they have to rethink what they're doing. Bringing a bead, bring the wire over, and I'll just sit back and look and see, watch how it goes, and maybe it'll change once more. Oh, that was my mail. One bead at a time. Boop. Making sure that I'm pinching those wires behind the bead, because whoops, I didn't do that here. And see, this one kind of wants to go up and down. So if I pinch those wires a little bit together behind the beads, that will make it easier or keeps the bead more on top of the loop. Yeah, they carry several, and you know, the celestial isn't as, so one thing I like about the Preciosa is that they've come a long way. I mean, they were there before we knew it, but most people didn't know that they got the facets down more evenly and the sizing evenly and very consistent. So I mean, that was one of the things about the original crystal, is that we liked, especially bead weavers, they were consistent in sizes. And then I found that the celestial was a little bit, wasn't at first, and then got better and so it's better than it was also. But it's that consistency for bead weaving that makes a difference when you're stringing or doing like wire crochet like we're doing today, or any of that, you know, it's a little... Your catalog arrived today. I wonder if mine did too. That was a big heavy clunk on the thing. Probably not though. Probably something else. Wrap around. Oop, oop, oop. I'm on the big one again. So remember, when you're on the big one, before you bring that wire over, you want to make sure that this loop that is on the hook already is about the size of the height of the bigger bead. And this, again, if you missed it from before, we were talking about hook sizes. I'm using 5 because for the most part it's a good in between for most of these beads, but it doesn't mean I have to go larger on that. If I would, the time that I did, like this size was the smallest that I used, I used a bigger hook, probably an 8. I don't remember if it was an 8mm or... Probably was though. Might have been a 10, but I think it was an 8. So you kind of want to gauge with it. And if you're only doing these little tiny ones, you might go down from a 5. Because I made it a little tighter. Ooh, sometimes it's hard to get through because I made it tighter, but whatever. It's going to look awesome anyway. And I think this is one of the other nice things about wire crochet is you can do this. It's like we've mentioned before, and you know, once you get the hang of this, you could do this in front of the TV. You could do it with other things, or you can make yourself slow down and appreciate each bead. You know, be a little more, you know, if you need a little bit of a mindful moment, you can kind of like, ooh, look how the light hits those beads. You can't tell in this, so never mind. But under the camera, these look so black, but in the real light, it's like showing off that beautiful cobalt blue, and it's just dazzling. And so sometimes, you know, just that's one of my favorite things about glass beads. I mean, I love stone beads, don't get me wrong, and stone beads, you'll have the same thing. Oh my gosh, sometimes when I'm wire crocheting stone beads, I'm like going so slow because I'm like, ooh, look at how that one's different from that one, and ooh, I like the coloration on that one, or the imperfections or whatever it is that tracks me at that moment. And so it's like also a neat project to practice mindful beading and you know, taking your time and enjoying it too, you know. So it's like this combination. One moment I could do it really just work on it, and it's easy, and it's mindless, and so I could do this because I've done so many. But then I can also go back and make it mindful, and it just really opens up, I think, possibilities. Okay, I got my last bead on there, so I'm going to do one without, and then I'm going to cut about 4 inches from the end, and I'm going to do one more and pull through all the way to loop it, and it's nice and hooked. Now I got 2 identical ones, but I'm going to offset them like this. Now I'm going to have one more that has a total different, because it's going to go down the center. And that one is, okay. And I am you can cut your 3 feet if you want to, or you can work off of the spool again like I am going to right now. I'm going to lay out my next set. So this one is a bicone. So remember, in the bicones, I used my melon. So I'm going to use my melon first. And then the button, according to the pattern, is the flower button, which I'm using my table cut. And then another bicone. And then the 4mm fire polish, which is this one, my Faceted Teardrop that is in this collection. I'm going to go in that direction, I think. And then my 6mm, which is my flower. My fire polish 6. 3 wings, which are my drops. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 drops. And don't worry if your second one, I just looked at mine, one's just a tad bit longer than the other. I don't know if it was my first one or my second one, which is a little longer, but it's going to work out and once I braid it. I'm not going to worry about it. And then my Cinibun, I'm going to do my Cinibun again. And then the Dahlia flower, which I am going to use my table cut. Dahlia. I don't know. You all know what I mean. Or not, and that's okay. Because I'm using a different bead anyway. 3 of my wings, which is my drops. And then I'm repeating again, so I got my FP6 is my flower that I'm substituting. Where am I? Oh, and look at what you have there, Joyce. And then I'm going to make that point go that way since they're on either ends. And then what I'm using for bicone and my check button, my flower button, and which I'm using my table cut, and then another bicone. Yeah, thank you. That helps, but right now it's not gonna help. Okay. Dahlia. Is that how you say it? See, I'm not good at phonics either. I need to go back to school, I guess. I try. This is why I didn't do well in my language classes either. I was able to read and write in different languages, but pronouncing, I was like, I can't pronounce common words in my native tongue. So pronouncing in someone else's is even hard. Duh. Okay, the emphasis is on the duh. So Dahlia. Whoa. Okay, that might be close. I don't know. I got excited. Who knows if I was close? But I appreciate the help. It's fun. Always learn new things, right? So we are going to just get these lovely beads on. Day, or is it a day? Yes, it is a type of flower, which that bead that we have, that's why it's got its name. That bead is based off of that flower. I think it kind of looks closer in that picture right there. Like I know what I know someone that has that flower, so I know that flower. It just does not want to come off my tongue for some reason. Dahlia. Okay. Well, we are going to get these lovely beads on here. And So we're going to go a little bit faster, hopefully, on this one so that we can getting the ends on, right? Aww. I love that, Cheryl. Okay, I'm going to start on this one side. Get that going, starting one without the beads. Oh, come on, get in there. And I like to start at least one without the beads, because starting one with the beads sometimes is hard. There's nowhere for the bead to necessarily catch, like it could catch down here because there's something already one stitch here, and I find it just works out a little bit easier, and that's why I do it. And because I start with it, that's why I end with it. Oh, I'm on the big one, so I need to pull that up and make sure it's tall enough. Yep. Oop. I'm going to undo that real quick. Didn't like how that is looking. Let's pull that a little bit. There we go. Tempted to do another one of these with the other beads, but then I'm like, oh no, they're good beads for other projects, so I might wait and see. I don't know, but I have so many beads left over, of course, because this collection, you don't need all the beads that are in the collection for this project. I'm looking at my piles, and this is my last one, and I have these nice big piles left. So, and I have those other strands that we didn't use. I think 5 or 6 other strands. So I'm like, oh, do I do another companion one? Because I have a tendency to like to make companion necklace bracelets, or I could do a second one and make it a necklace. Because that would be kind of fun too. Oh, that's okay, Deborah. I understand. I have a tendency to do that too. Like, you get that little notification and you look at it and you think you're going off of that, but then you're on the last one that you did, not the one that the notification's from. So, all good. I'm just crocheting these along. Almost more than halfway done. So that's endless possibilities. I know. Endless. My favorite thing about beads, right? Which sometimes can be my downfall too, because then I'm like, what do? I have so many beads, I don't know what to do. It's like, yeah, I know what to do. There's so many possibilities. What am I talking about? Okay, and my last one. Woohoo! See, we're almost there. Almost there. Boom. Now I'm going to just go over, do one without. Isn't it fun with a different, I know, like sometimes if we learn one way, we don't always think of the other types that you can use, but the texture of mixing the shapes is so fun. It just gives it, it's so nice. So I cut about 4 inches or so. I don't know, maybe it's only 3, but hopefully it's closer to 4. And then I'm going to pull it through all the way. You know, Brooke, I would do it, but I've done it both ways. I've put enough beads on, you know, and just did the full thing in it, and so it'd be all the way around. So I done ones where, I mean, I did extra long ones where they were probably like 28 inches, so it was like a long drapey, and I did like 3 of them together. I've also done like, you know, smaller ones that are like 18, 20 inches, and do that, and just do the whole thing. And working off of the spool, when you work off of a spool, you're able to kind of like put a whole bunch of beads on and just go at it. And just, you probably want at least a minimum of like 2, we're gonna say like 3/4 of your total, give or take. Good to have a little extra, you know, just in case for your length, but you can kind of like measure it as you go. If you cut your piece, I would say think of it like you need about 3 times the length that you need for the wire. And then you can kind of like, oh, if you cut it off of the spool, you're able to add more beads, which makes it easier. But usually I just do a whole bunch, and then if I need to add a little bit more, then I can cut off a few feet and then be able to add it. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I've done it both ways. I've, you know, so taking this length, like if I wanted to, I could take this length and make this into a necklace. Oops, wrong way. So I could make this into a necklace by adding, you know, ending these like I am my bracelet, and then adding chain or cord or my beads, even stringing beads from it. But you could really, yeah, it could go either way. I have not have that much of a problem with it catching my hair. That being said, I'm sure that depends on the person, because I know that some hair catches a little bit more, and I would say it's better to err on doing something like this where you're only doing so much of the length and the rest of it a chain or a cord that you know that doesn't catch your hair. You know, Sonia, I would probably not reuse the wire. It's really hard to get it smooth, and then all the bending that we've done on this is a little, like, it weakens the wire, so I probably wouldn't. You should have plenty in that kit though to be able to redo one without like running out of wire. That being said, message us if there's a problem. We can figure that out. Yes, I think it goes great both ways like that. Yeah. You know, So do them, get your third. And what's interesting, if you don't like the way it looks, it's really interesting, this next part, how when you braid it, it changes the way it looks. So you might be pleasantly surprised with it. So don't be afraid, you know, give yourself a moment, do that third one, because you know, if you're new to it, of course it's gonna look a little different than mine, because I've been doing it for a little while. So you might kind of look like it's not, but then once it's all braided, it might actually look better than you think. So I am ready for that part. What I got my order that I want this to be in. I have this is my number 1 and my number 2 that are on the outside, and then my middle. I'm going to lay them together like that. I'm going to take one end of these, and I'm going to get this so that all the empty loops with no beads are all together. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, that is so true. And then you're going to just twist those parts together. This is going to go inside our little end cap. Okay, so I'm just twisting those together. Hello, Sabrina. Welcome. And then you're going to separate, you're going to look at these 3 ends and see how I have this one that's kind of like has a kink in it. I am not going to save that one. That one's going to be one of my wrappy ones. And then these 2, I'm going to decide which one's the smoothest, and I think that one's they're both the same, so it really doesn't matter. Maybe I'll go with the longer one. Haha, how about that? And then I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to just wrap around that twist that I made. I'm just building up a nice little wire. Again, it's going to go right inside this guy, so it doesn't matter. But because this is kind of, so I chose these 6mm. They're called they say they're 6mm, and it is, if you measure from outside to outside, the inside fits a 5mm to 5.5 or something like that. It's not a true 6, but if I just did the little bit of wrapping, this would kind of wobble on it, and you could go with a smaller one, but a smaller one kind of doesn't look as good with these larger beads. So I'm bulking up this so that it doesn't wiggle in that when I put this on. So that's why I'm just wrapping around on top of itself, bulking that up so it doesn't wiggle. And once you feel like you got a good enough bulk, and that's pretty good, I'm going to cut off the extra because this one's longer. I don't need to wrap that one anymore. I'm going to slide on my end cap here and let it go down and cover all that wire mess. Undo some if you overdo it, but most of the time you don't need to I can push that. So you can kind of see it like that because it's not covering it all the way. You can undo it a little bit, but I'm going to just kind of push it up in there. So you just get in there. Whoop, 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 where are you going? Trying to escape. I got my pliers caught in my hair. That's a interesting problem. All right. but get in there. Just push you good in there. You don't need to be out here. You can go inside. I know you can. Boop. Yeah, see? Why not? Why not? Just get it in there. And if I needed to, I could undo it. But I'm not going to. I'm going to just leave it. Boop. That's better. I'm happy with that. I'm going to add a bead because I don't want to just make my loop on that end. I want something on it. So I'm going to add my little, it's a bicone in the instructions, but I'm going to use my, what is that called? A melon bead. Now this is at the point you can either make a wrap loop and then use a jump ring to attach your clasp, or you can make a wrap loop that you directly attach to. And I think I'm going to go with the magnet today. Let's see how that's going to work. Oh, that's going to be perfect for me. Like before I decide, that's the other thing. Before you decide, kind of make a decision. Once you have all of these together, do you need a bigger clasp? Do you need a smaller clasp? Do you want to use those jump rings to add length? Do you want to not have the jump rings to add, you know, because it'll add too much length? Once I braid it, it's going to get a little bit shorter. So I think this amount of space is perfect for me. So I'm going to go for that. And I want to say, like, I don't know, that's like a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. I eyeball everything practically. I rarely use a ruler. And I am going to go directly, and I think I'm going to use my magnet because I love these magnets. These little small but mighty magnets, as we call them. We've had them for that type for so long, and we love them. It is 26 gauge, is a thinner wire. So if you feel like your wire's too thin, like if I did this all in a necklace and it's just this one little tiny wire and it's a little heavier, I actually may use a thicker wire to wrap and attach it so that it is stronger. But in this case, I'm not going to worry about it. I think it's going to be okay. I could double my loop too, but then it makes it hard. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to double my loop this time so you can see what I mean by doubling the loop. And I'm going to use my jump ring to attach my clasp. And that will make it a tiny bit stronger, because I do want a magnet clasp, which will get a little bit more pull and tug than other types of clasp. I think this might be a little bit better. Yup, can do. They could be super long earrings. That'd be great. I love long earrings. And so what I'm doing to make my double loop up here is I started my loop just like I would, you know, then wrap, right? But I'm going to just put it back onto my pliers, and I'm going to bring that wire around, and then you have to kind of open it up and around. And now I have 2 loops there that I can then start twisting. I'm going to switch over and hold it, try to hold it gently with the other. And I am going to do a nice little messy wrap because I think that adds character to the wire crochet. I'm also going to go wrap down in between because that's going to be a fun texture, and then back up. So if you see, I'm going to go back up here and I'm kind of wrapping around it so that adds a little dimension to that part. You don't have to, I just think it would be really cool in this one. And then cut off that extra. Again, you can keep it single too, and a single would be okay if you're using other types of clasp, but with that magnet, I know that the magnet is pretty strong, and so the tug is going to be a little bit different. And now I have like kind of a double loop. I can go back in there with my round nose pliers and get that a little rounded, like push it on and twist and get it a little more rounded. And that looks good. It's kind of fun with that little extra wrap on there too. Now I'm going to braid my piece. Now you either braid it tight or you braid it loose, depending on how you like the way the beads are lining up. We're going to see it's just a simple 3-strand braid. I'm going to just start out kind of loose, because sometimes the beads will intermingle in a nice way and you're happy, and then sometimes you're like, okay, it needs to be tighter or it needs to be looser. And we're going to pull that. So this one's going to be a little looser so that those can be. Oop, I almost braided wrong. Okay. Making sure the beads are facing. And this is where you may find that if you think your crochet looks a little messy, once you get this braided, you might find that it looks nice, and you're not going to be as sad about how it turned out. Or you might find that you want to redo, and as you see, it's not that hard to redo, or make anyway, so it wouldn't be hard to redo. You have to cut all those off. I'm off camera, sorry. Going to just kind of do it pretty tight, so that since I'm doing it tighter, it is going to give it make it a little bit shorter, which is fine. But look how fun that is. Look how fun that is. And it's wire, so you can kind of play with it and make sure beads are poking out the way you want them to a little bit. And now that I'm at the bottom, I'm going to take the spots where it's just the empty loops, and I'm going to twist those together a little bit, just like a twist tie twist. I'm going to pick out my better wire out of these, which they all look about the same, so it doesn't matter, and take the other two and just start wrapping around and building up bulk again. Oh, thank you. And I think that might be good enough. Get that little end in. Cut off the extra wire of these 2 wires. Yay, Shira! I hope you share with us. And that gives a good point. If you are making something with me today or after today, please share with us. You can share on our Facebook page, the Just Bead It Facebook page. If you are part of the Just Bead It Happy Beaders group, please share there. Wherever you want to share, it's great. I love seeing what people choose. I love seeing how they make it, what colors they choose, what beads they choose. It makes me so happy. It brightens my day. I can't tell you how you all helps us get through some tough times just by sharing in November and December, and how much joy that brought us. And so we love it. We love it. Okay, this time I put too much. Here I thought I needed to put more on here. So let's undo a little bit of this wire, because I put too much on there and it won't. The other one fit almost. This one's not almost fitting. So let's cut that much off and see where we're at. Sometimes half of the battle is actually choosing what beads you're going to use. I think. It's like, oh. Slide that on. There we go. Now we're getting there. Oh, yeah. Hey. Improvise. Mix metal. You don't have to have the same color. Mix metal it up. But you could definitely find something. Maybe you can make a end cap with thicker gauge wire and a spiral, or bead up something. You know, there's ways to do that. All right, I'm gonna end this with my melon. I am going to start my wrap, do my wrap loop, start it, and I want a double loop, so I'm going to reposition my pliers so that I can wrap it around a second time before wrapping. Well, yes, this is going to be available to watch after. You definitely can watch it from the beginning. And then I'm just wrapping around, make a nice little messy wrap up here. I'm going to go down the side of the melon and go in between the melon and the end cap a couple times, and then back up to give it, again, you don't have to do this part. I just think it looks kind of cool to add a little extra wire. Gives it a little bit more stability with this thin wire, and adds to that whole like wire crochet look. But you can leave it too because it looks nice and clean without. Put my round nose pliers back in. Ooh, back on. Get it in the camera, Joyce. Back in to kind of make those loops looking good. And so happy. I'm so happy. Spread these out a little bit. Kind of whoosh. Open up the braid a little bit. Love it. So fun. And then I got my, nope, I'm going to do the magnet. Where's the magnet? Where did it go? It's on my pliers, of course, because it's a magnet. Okay, there's one jump ring. Where did the other jump ring go? That's not magnetic, so that is hiding somewhere. Well, a good thing I have my container right here. Let's just grab another one. Nope, I just want one more. There we go. All right, gonna use my 2 pliers to open and shut my jump ring to attach my magnetic clasp. Yes, you're gonna definitely be able to do that. That's a nice little perk, right? You're gonna be somewhere close where you can go grab one. And these hook, that 5mm should be available there without a problem at anywhere that it's a pretty standard size. You can always go up to a 6 or do a 4 if they don't have it in for some reason. But yeah, 5mm or even a 5.5 or a 4.5, because they do halves also. So you can kind of play with the size if you need to, because it depends on what they have in stock. But yeah, you should be able to find one. Joanne's. I like to get my magnet on first, because instead of looping through my bracelet first, because of the fact that this magnet likes to attach to pliers. And if I at least get it there attached, then I know I can get it through here. And then when I go, and it's attached to this one, so then when I go to grab it with my other pliers, I don't have to worry about it. If it's the other way around, if I put the bracelet on first and then the magnet, when I go to put it next to my pliers, it wants to jump over to this plier. So having it in between this way, I find that works a little bit better. Thank you. I am so happy with this. I got my other side. Open up. Hold on I also like to keep my magnet together instead of separating it, only because then I don't lose the other side on my other pliers or something. Well, Sonia, thank you for joining us today. I'm so glad that you were able to start and try it and let us know how it goes. You can always message us if you have any questions about your wire. I know you gotta redo one. So good luck with that. Have a great evening, rest of your weekend. Let's grab that. Come on, you can go right here. Get that little guy in there. There we go. Now we have a jump ring on both sides and it is done. Now one thing that I might do is add a charm to it because I like to add a little dangly charm. That's what we did with our original. Yep, that looks great. Works really well with that. And so I think I'm going to add a dangle real quick, because what we did was we added a dangle at the bottom of the extender chain, and I think it would be fun to still have a dangle off of it. I think I'm going to do the, so I'm going to take, I have this piece, I kind of do about 5 to 6 inches, but this one's a little bit smaller, but that's okay. It's probably about 4 to 5 inches. And I'm gonna see, let's see, what do I want to dangle? I think I want to dangle a Cinibun and I want to do a flower in the Cinibun. I think so. I think that's what my dangle is going to be. I'm gonna just go right under there. Bring it down, and then I'm going to take, kind of go to the center of it, and then I'm going to bend this wire up. That's what's going to catch it. So you can use a head pin. By all means, if you have a head pin, use a head pin. I'm just using a piece of my wire that I had left over and using it. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it, let's see if I could take it so I don't lose my beads. I'm going to take the folded end from the bottom Cinibun. I'm going to go and I'm going to wrap it between the Cinibun and the flower, and then I'm going to go and wrap it between, go over the, oh, I'm off camera. Okay, so it's folded up. And then I'm going to wrap it between the Cinibun and the flower. And then I'm going to go over the flower and wrap it between the melon and the flower and the melon. And then I'm going to wrap it above the melon. I'm going to hold on to this end and kind of push these down so that there's not that much of a gap. So one side's going to have the wrap, the other side's not going to really have a wrap. Now you could wrap it, I think that, I mean, you could try to get it so that it's on the side, or I don't know, it's just going to hang, so it doesn't matter. Then I'm going to just get that nice and tight. Snip off that extra. I could use a jump ring to attach this, or I could open my jump ring, or I can do this directly, which is what I think I'm going to do, is just go directly because it's easier for me right now. So I'm going to go and start my wrap loop like I'm regular. I'm just going to keep it a single. I'm going to attach it to the jump ring on one side of my magnet. Hold on to that. Oh, magnets, magnets, magnets. Go between the magnet and the wire. Wrap around on top of that. And if this was longer, I could wrap down again, but I'm just going to wrap nice and messy up top because it adds to that fun boho-y, crochet-y look. Cut off that extra wire. Press it in. And now I have a cute little dangle on it too. If you don't have ends like this, you could also use cones, by the way. Anyone that has cones instead of like these more cylinder shaped cord ends. And voila, voila, I got a new bracelet with you, with my little dangle. How fun, so happy, such a happy bracelet here. And look at all these beads I have left over. Woohoo! I got a lot. I can make a second one. Maybe I make one for my sister because there's enough beads there. And then we'll have matching. I could do that. Or I can make her a different one. Either one. Either way. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's see about switching this. Do we know how to switch this awesome camera again? Ooh, phone camera, whatever. Da, 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 da. Hey, I'm back. Sometimes like, whoa, hi, how are you? Anyway, that was fun. I am so excited for all of you joining me today. I know some people had to leave already, and that is a-okay. I don't know how to get this the right height. Oh well, I'll just swoop down a little bit. I'll sit down. I had fun though. Look how cool it is. And I am not 100% sure what I'm going to do next week. If this is your first time or our first time in a long time, last week was our first one back since November, and I decided that we're going to kind of take it slow with getting back. I'm still going to try to do one every Saturday. I will try to get the project a little sooner, but like last week and this week it was just the Friday before. I'll try to get a little bit sooner and get better at that. We're just trying to, with all our things that are new to us that we're having to change, I'm going to do that and then have more of a regular schedule in April. So this month, February, and in March, we're going to be revisiting a lot of the projects that we did in 2021 and 2020. And like this one, sometimes we'll have kits. Like last week we had kits. But this time, like this one is using new beads, but showing how you can do the same project with new beads. I'm so thankful for all of you, and I hope this inspired. I know we have a lot of people that maybe not realize that we did a bracelet like this last year. So that's another, fun thing to revisit these projects. So I really appreciate you. I am so excited. Stay tuned. I will announce the next one hopefully before Friday, but if not by Friday. And I'll see you next Saturday at 2 o'clock. Hopefully have a great weekend, the rest of your weekend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.